Welcome. My name is Kendra Morgan, and I'm the host of the Rise and Build podcast, where we hope to empower you to rise up and build a strong family, knowing you have to strengthen your hands to do the good work. Come with us as we rise and build. Hey, you guys, welcome to the Rise and Build podcast. Today, I'm sitting across from my good friend, Heather Parmley, and we are going to talk about sensory processing and reflexes. What is it? What does it look like? And how do we help it? Heather, I'm so excited to visit about this.
Me too.
Okay, so this is what I know about you. I don't even know when we met. Do you know when we met?
Was it exercise? Or was it? I don't remember if it, I think we knew each other then. So I'm not real sure.
Okay, I don't know. I just know that I got to know you or maybe it was through Debbie.
Maybe. So it's been 2015 or before.
Okay. So it's been a while.
Yes.
And I have to say, our tough kiddos, I mean, we send them to you. We love you. We love your heart. We love how you like challenges. You're not afraid to take them on, and you figure out these kids. And you make a big difference.
Thank you.
So we were talking about, so the team always talks about topics for this podcast, and I think it was Andy or maybe Melissa, but someone brought it up like, we just have a lot of parents that don't understand sensory processing. The reflexes is a new word. Like, what does that mean?
Right.
And so, of course, you were the one that came up. So when I called and asked you, it was hard to find time because your schedule is so busy. But I want our viewers to know about you. So tell us about you.
Well, I've been an occupational therapist for 28 years, and I love it. Every day I love it. I'm thankful every time I go in, to work. But I started out working with adults. So for the first 10 years, I was in inpatient rehab, some long-term care, so just primarily adults. And we had some peds on particular floors, like a brain injury floor I was on in Oklahoma City. But I shifted after my first 10 years to pediatrics. And worked in Tulsa Public Schools and just kind of shifted all of my continuing ed and, training and shadowing everything, for peds. And have been doing that ever since. So about 18 years. But I've been in public school, different settings here in the Tulsa area. And then in 2015, kind of put together a little schedule where I was in public school and private school. And then have been doing private schools since about 2017. Since then.
And you have your own private practice.
Yes. So we have a small group, but an amazing group of
such a good group.
OTs. And we're in 7 schools in the Tulsa area.
That's great.
So, it's grown, but it's been amazing.
Yeah, I love it. Love it, love it.
Yes.
Okay, so you are the one that we're going to talk about this topic. So my goal for today is I want those families that get this diagnosis or hear that their child is struggling in school, I want them to be able to come to this and just gather some information. So my first question is, what is sensory processing?
Yes.
Big.
So it's big, yes.
It's a big question.
We are all sensory beings, all of us. And so sensory processing is the process where your brain and body, we're receiving information from our environment through all of our senses. The 5 that we've learned in school, like in elementary. And then we have others as well that we can talk more about, like movement and pressure, internal sensors. But we receive those senses, our brain interprets that information, and then we have a response. Or we may not. We might not be bothered by, whatever we're receiving. But processing is that the whole process, like we're getting the information, our brain receives it, and then we have some kind of response. And so when we're regulated, the response is, just normal. We get through the day. But if something is not connected and not regulated, it's almost like a traffic jam in the brain.
Love that.
And so that's why kids might have problems sitting in class or melting down at home, is because they've received a lot of information. Something's not connecting quite right, or they can't handle it to feel regulated to get through the day or get through those roles in their lives.
Okay, so I want to talk about reflexes too. Do you think we should talk about them together or totally separate?
I mean, I see an overlap with how we treat. They're different processes for sure. So we can kind of separate them and then we can put it together.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Okay. That might be good.
So we'll stick with the sensory processing.
Okay. Yes.
Just so because it can get confusing.
It can.
But I think it's so important to know that they do kind of go together sometimes.
Absolutely.
Right? So if I am watching this and I'm listening to this and I have been called by the school that my kid won't stay seated or won't participate in circle time, or he's kind of all over the place, or she interrupts a lot and appears impulsive. And I mean, we get it all the time, these phone calls, and they're like, I think they maybe have ADD. Like that's where it always goes. And then as child development specialists, we'll assess them and we're like, I think it's some sensory stuff, right?
Right.
So what would it look like if I had a child with some sensory processing? Like what would I notice as a parent?
It can be very different because every child, is individual. But at home, there's some different things. If we kind of went through like the different sensations that we know for touch, like if we just dive into touch, some kids might not tolerate clothing, different types of clothing, seams in their socks, tags in their shirts, the tightness of clothing. Like those are some things that for the touch sensation, kids might not tolerate well.
Or even season different. Like you wear shorts and then it's winter and you have to put on jeans.
Pants,
That's a big deal.
Right.
Okay.
Or things on their head. I mean, like even a beanie or something like that. But then touch can also affect grooming. I think of, the kids that we have that have difficulty with hair washing.
Yes.
Or
face washing.
Yes, haircuts, nail trimming. Like some of those things that they cannot tolerate and it can cause a meltdown.
Okay.
So those are kind of in that touch category.
Okay.
And then if you really think about, each sense, so like with vision, if kids are overstimulated or they pick up on too many cues, maybe they're oversensitive visually, they might not be able to focus on their work in the classroom because they're up looking at everything else going on in the classroom.
Yes.
They might notice, when somebody walks across the classroom, they might notice simple changes in the classroom that other kids might not pick up on. Okay. So they're like oversensitive to things visually.
Yes. And it looks like they're just focused distraction.
Yes.
But it's not.
It might just be something with their senses where they're oversensitive to that.
Okay.
And we can help them and we'll, talk about that more too. And auditorily is the same way. I mean, like they could pick up on things with their ears and sound that others might not, but it might bother them. And I think of like when the air conditioner comes on.
Yes.
Or even with the lights, going back to like the fluorescence.
Yes.
Like when they flicker.
Yes.
And they hum too.
They do hum. Yes.
So some kids might pick up on that and it's distracting, or some might not, and they can focus and get through the day. So those are the things that parents might notice too. Also with sound, just kids that are overly sensitive to sound. We notice kids have difficulty with like the automatic toilets flushing.
Yes.
Like that's it's scary, it's unexpected. They don't know when it's coming and it's loud. And dryers, automatic dryers in the bathrooms.
Yes.
And even crowds, like when kids have to transition to go to the cafeteria or the gym or a chapel or an assembly in their school, when there's crowds and the acoustics are different in a room and they can't tolerate that. That's a sign, that something's not right. Something, they need support. We need to help them. What else? We've got movement. And that will in taste and smell too. Yeah. I mean, I don't notice those as much as like a primary.
Yeah, I agree.
Disturbance or complaint. But when we start digging, sometimes that's when we notice more.
Yeah.
I had one recently, a sensory profile from a parent, and it was more like movement and seeking. But then she was like, you know what? He can remember smells and like how it reminds him of some place.
Interesting.
And so he was like, sensitive, not where it bothered him, but just like that was something that was significant for him for memory.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a story because the senses, I love them because they are so fascinating to me. We had a little girl that had never been a behavior issue. She had some trauma, but had never been a behavior issue and became kind of this behavior issue. We could not figure out why. And so we went to the school, observed, and she just had something with her teacher, kind of against her teacher. We could not figure it out. Well, we brought in grandma, we met, and the grandma was like, what perfume do you wear? So the mother, the biological mother, had passed away, and the teacher was wearing the same perfume as the mom. And we were like, it's her sense of smell.
Wow.
She's picking that up. Is that not wild, Heather?
It's amazing that grandma figured that out.
I know. Well, I think she smelled like her daughter,
Yeah.
But it's those little things that if you're not aware of it,
right,
we would have just looked totally past all that and never figured it out.
Yes.
So anyways, that triggered me when you were saying about that. So touch and smell. I feel like it's not one that comes up very often to us, but it can be a trigger.
Taste can, and that's usually something we figure out later on too. But some kids, that might disrupt their whole mealtime, like being, extra sensitive to taste, like or food aversions.
Eater,
that's like a whole other, that could be a specialty for an OT or speech therapist to work on food aversions.
Yes.
And that is sensory related too. But other senses, like the ones I love to work on and talk about, is the vestibular sense.
Okay.
So that's our sense of movement. It tells us, the receptors are in our inner ears, and it tells us where our head is in relationship to gravity, to the earth. So look, if our head's upside down, or if we're moving linear or rotary, that's the sense for vestibular. And so that one for kids, like if that one needs some support, or if they're extra seeking in the vestibular category, those are the kids that can't stop moving.
Okay.
Or
so
maybe
spinning, they love to spin.
Yes. Or falling out of the chair.
Yes.
Rocking. Mm-hmm. So they're seeking that movement. And as adults, we do that in different ways, because vestibular input can be calming and organizing to our nervous system. So that's why we like rocking chairs, most of us, and swings.
Yeah.
If you think of that movement, it's calming. And so kids, they're trying to seek that movement sometimes, where they're overly seeking it in a classroom where it can be, disturbing and distracting to others.
Yeah. Do ear infections affect your vestibular sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So if you have a child with a lot of ear infections, it's something to kind of think about.
Right.
Okay.
Just to observe and make sure. Yeah. Some kids don't like having their feet off of the ground on playground equipment.
Yes.
Like they're scared. We call it gravitational insecurity.
Yeah.
And that can be related to the vestibular system as well.
Okay. That's good to know. Okay.
And then the proprioceptive system, my other favorite. That's our sense of pressure. And so we have receptors in our joints and muscles that give our brain information about how much pressure we're receiving, or we're giving, we're pushing. But that system also can be calming and organizing for the nervous system. But when kids are having difficulty with receiving and processing that information, they might be the kids pushing too hard, or leaning on things, draping themselves over objects or people. Like they're seeking touch and pressure.
Yeah. So these are the kids that we say
sometimes
play hard.
Yes.
They play hard with toys. They run and crash into the sofa.
Yes.
They get in trouble in the line because they're constantly bumping the kid in front of them.
Right.
They're kind of these deep seeker kiddos.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So those are some of the things that you would see, in the classroom and at home.
Okay. So it's so good to kind of just throw some of that out, because if you get that phone call from the school and your child is doing some of this stuff, to me, the positive thing is it can be fixed.
Right.
There's a lot of help that these children can receive. Right. So can we talk about what that looks like?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes. So like for movement, do you want to just kind of go through?
Yeah, let's just go through them. Tell me all. I want to know it all.
One of the things we teach kids and teachers, like one of the top things I feel like I'm teaching every week is teaching kids how to give themselves proprioceptive input.
Okay.
So pressure input.
Okay.
Because they can do it right at their seat.
Love it.
And so for any age, and for our little ones, they have, carpet time, circle or floor time. And then our older kids, they might not. They might just be at the desk or their table. But teaching them to press their hands together as tight as they can. Pressing each finger.
Yes.
Pressing the palm of their hand, and then pulling. So hooking their fingers and pulling as tight as they can. And then chair push-ups or seat push-ups. So they could do it crisscross, like right in circle time, or they could do it in their chair. And we teach them to do it small so it's not distracting to their neighbor. But we're just teaching them, you can give your body a good input that makes you reset, refocus. and we explain it to them at their level of understanding. But I tell them, this is your toolbox.
Yes.
And we're teaching you tools for this toolbox that you can use in class.
Love it.
So we teach, there's a lot of P's, and this is kind of fun. I say you got press, pull, and push-ups.
Okay.
But you also have a pause button. And this kind of goes into reflexes. I know we'll get there, but that's why it kind of goes together for me.
Yeah.
Is we're teaching them strategies for sensory input, but also for like impulse control.
Okay.
And so, and that goes with sensory too. If they're seeking movement and we need them to pause, I tell them another tool is their pause button. And I explain, like, only you can control your pause button.
Yes.
Mom and dad can't control it. Your teacher can't control it. Only you can.
Love it.
And that pause helps you make a good choice.
Okay.
To give yourself an input or to take a breath.
Yeah.
Or to wait and not interrupt. So that's another, and then pretzel crunch, another P. So just teaching them like to fold up at their desk, you know, if they're older and they're not in the floor, just like crossing their arms, just taking a breath in a crunch position. If they're able to, crisscross on the floor, taking some deep breaths to calm down.
Okay. And so when they're doing all of the P's, what is that doing? So providing deep pressure, but what does that deep pressure do?
So for the pressure ones, that is an input to the nervous system through the proprioceptors.
Okay.
That's calming and organizing for the nervous system.
Okay.
And so, and with the pause that I was talking about, like the pause button, we're addressing impulse control.
Okay.
Just helping them know like they have that choice to make a pause, to make a good choice. But that has to be kind of repeated outside those moments.
Yes.
So that they know, you know, those tools, because inside the moment when they are impulsive and, you know, maybe falling apart or, you know, losing it, that's a hard time to go through these strategies. We need to teach them before and after, you know, and all the times in between.
Yeah.
And then pretzel crunch would be, it is pressure, but it's also deep breathing. So it's, you know, more physiological as well for decreasing heart rate and decreasing breathing just for calming.
Okay. So I've heard you say a couple times a seeker. Well, if I'm listening to this and I'm like, what is a seeker? So could you explain that a little bit?
So that would be the student or child that's overly seeking inputs, whether it's touch, like touching all the objects, you know, in the classroom or at home, or the child that's walking down the hall with their hand on the hall the whole way. They are seeking more, whereas the opposite would be an avoiding behavior. So where they don't like touch, they don't like hugs. So it's kind of, I think, easier to understand when you look at the opposites too. And we're kind of, if we're regulated, we're probably somewhere in the middle where we're not overly seeking textures and touch. We might, you know, check something out, but we're okay. We don't have to like have it with us all the time. But then we're not necessarily avoiding textures or touch as well. We're kind of in that middle. So that seeking is the extra. It could be movement, where you might look at a classroom of kids and they're, you know, sitting and, you know, getting their work done, but you might have the kid that's kicking legs or leaning on their head or turning all around, like seeking movement, seeking input, whether it could be visual, they're seeking visual input or that movement input, which we see a lot, the crashing, kids that like to, you know, fall out of the chair, sometimes on purpose for that input.
Yes.
Sometimes it's not related to, you know, other things like core strength. But it's the over and beyond the norm of what our body's needing.
Yeah. And I heard you use the word regulation. So you're doing all the P's to help their body get regulated. Yes. Which allows them to focus and kind of do what the teacher would want them to do.
To get through their day.
Yes.
Yes. Because if you have a child that's dysregulated, they can't focus. They can't. Sometimes they can't listen to instruction. They're not going to receive it the same way because they're distracted or they're, you know, seeking something and they're not receiving that information. When kids are dysregulated, we see behaviors. Yeah. And that's when we can see meltdowns. I think of kids at the beginning of the day as an empty cup and all these sensory experiences that they receive throughout the day is like pouring water into that empty cup. And some days, some things might feel like pouring a lot of water, like maybe they didn't like breakfast and they don't like their shirt, their socks are too tight, running late, it's raining. I mean, like all the things, like think of our day. When things aren't just smooth and easy for a child, it's almost exacerbated because, I mean, their brains are still growing and maturing and making those neural connections. So it's different. But if their cup is full, like they met the threshold, that's when we see behaviors. And so my role and what I want to teach kids, parents, and teachers is how can we provide good inputs throughout the day so that kids are regulated, so that that threshold isn't met. So that we don't get there as fast. So that they might get movement they need throughout the day strategically, like a sensory diet, like looking at their schedule, planning some good motor breaks and sensory input throughout the day so that when things come up that are frustrating, a change in schedule, they can handle that and tolerate it better.
They don't have that boiling point as quick.
Exactly.
So how do I know, because I mean, some tantrums are normal in development. How do I know if it's a normal tantrum or if like, okay, something's not right? How do I know that?
I think that's hard. I think first we have to know the child and know some patterns and know some background. But I feel like just really paying attention to environment helps a lot too.
Agreed.
And like backing up and thinking about their day. Like I was talking about, like what all happened before this? You know, are they just throwing a fit because they're mad about losing a game? Or did something happen earlier in their day, or did they not rest well? Have they not been feeling great? I think we have to look at that whole picture to determine if it's just a behavior choice or if it's truly like we are overwhelmed and melting down and losing it.
And I also can determine on if they can kind of regroup themselves. Like a true tantrum, they can get pretty mad. They'll end up recovering. But a true sensory where they need some stimulation and need some output, they might need help with that, right?
And need assistance.
They might need you to step in and hold them or help them get regulated.
To shift. And I feel like shifting attention to get sensory input is helpful too. Like, let's go swing. Let's go take a walk. Let's put on some headphones with music. So you're giving good inputs to help them for calming down.
I love it. Okay, so if I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, okay, this is my daughter, this is my son. Talk to us a little bit about an evaluation. What does that look like? Goals, therapy. Let's start with the evaluation.
Sure. So if it's a primarily sensory-based evaluation, it's a lot of observation and interview. And so we would give the parents a sensory profile to complete. And it goes through every sensory category. And they rate how often they see a certain response or behavior in that category. So some of the things are specifically like movement, pursues movement to the point of interfering with daily routines. Or touches objects or people more than others. Distracted by noise, distracted by TV. And so they get to pick a percentage, like almost always, frequently, half the time, and lower. So the parents get that, and that creates a great picture for us to see what they're noticing at home.
And
then if the child is school age, we give one to the teacher. And so it has more school-based questions. It's pretty in-depth. But it's great for us to see, because typically they're different. They're not going to be exactly the same what the parents observe and what the teachers. And it can, most of the time, I would say there's more behaviors or responses observed in school, or it's higher frequency compared to home.
Because it's more structured. More expectations.
And so we put all of that information together and interpret it for parents and make goals. Like, how can we help support the student at home and in the classroom setting by giving them good inputs throughout the day? And so we would make goals I want the kids to understand what they're feeling. So we talk about that a lot. Like,
love that.
We talk about zones of regulation and feelings, and we relate it, to sensory. Like, how can we use something you've learned, like press and pull, to give your body that input it needs to calm down or to get through the day? And so our goals it's tricky. They're not very measurable. It's more observed demand and response from parent or teacher on how they're making progress, because it's hard to put a number on that.
Yeah, but they do. They make progress.
For sure.
I mean, once they get into the OT and learn kind of how to regulate their body, we see so much progress with them.
Yes.
So
the goals, we want children to recognize they need something. Like, my body's not feeling calm.
Right.
I need to do something. And they know some strategies or tools in their toolbox.
Right.
But we're sharing that information with teachers and with parents. We make a home exercise program.
Love that.
Even for, kiddos that are just working on sensory. We would make a home program for them to have those good inputs if they're school age, before school, after school, evening.
Yes.
And then we also have a list of strategies we share with teachers that are strategies they can do right in the classroom with all the kids, which would probably be great for teachers to do with everybody, because most kids need a motor break and most kids need heavy work.
Yes.
And obviously some need it more than others, but everybody would benefit from just doing some breaks and sensory input throughout the day.
Yeah. What about those families we hear all the time? He does so good at school. When he gets home, he is a mess.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
Sure.
They're
I see that a lot.
Holding it together all day long.
Exactly.
Get in their safe place, and it's rough.
And it's that cup, back to that empty cup. Most of our kiddos, I feel like, know right and wrong.
Yes.
They want to please. They want to do the right thing, make their teacher happy and the adults in the school. And so if they are holding it together and working harder than somebody that a peer that doesn't have to work as hard at that, but they're getting all this sensory input all day long, and they're trying to hold it together and make good choices and be still and listen. And they're working harder at it because of their system, not as regulated. When they get home, that's when they fall apart. And that's when we see those behaviors, like with tantrums or being stubborn or uncooperative or getting frustrated easily.
Yes.
Those
Fighting
are
with
all
siblings.
Yes. And those are the behaviors like in the avoiding category because they're overwhelmed.
Yeah. So
They've met
what do
that
you
threshold.
recommend? What would you tell a parent?
Well, that's when I feel like if we can give them inputs throughout the day.
Yes.
And we can share that with
Love
teachers. Like, if he can have this child, if he can have, a motor break where he can pull a wagon that's loaded, or stack the books in your classroom, or please, send him with a note down to the office so he gets a walk.
Yeah. Carry a heavy book while you're walking.
Yes.
Any
or
heavy
even
work.
the playground, like, whenever they're out there, we let them do what they want, but let's tell Billy to go hang on the monkey bars and count to 20.
Yeah.
Just like helping them plant those seeds for the heavy work input and the movement input, whatever they need, so that they're getting some things throughout the day, so that that frustration at home and that release is less.
I love it.
But even getting home, I tell parents all the time, like, have them swing or do heavy work before school and after school.
Yes.
Like,
The
don't worry
park
about
is your friend.
Yes, don't worry about homework and stuff.
Yes.
Let them have that good input after school to reset.
That's good. Good. Okay, can we jump into reflexes?
Yeah, sure.
So I feel like you are kind of the expert in this field for sure, and there's a lot of people that don't know about it.
Right.
We are seeing so much of it, and so we even had you come in and you trained as child development specialists kind of what to look for when we assess children. But talk to us about reflexes.
Sure.
What does that mean?
So when we say reflexes, we're talking about primitive reflexes.
Okay.
So we are all born with them, and they serve a purpose in development.
Okay.
And so I feel like parents typically remember when I'm going over reports and talking about reflexes, when babies, before they start rolling and they're lying on their back, and if they turn their head to the left, their left arm will go straight and their right arm will bend. And the legs do the same thing. It's like a little bow and arrow.
Okay.
Because it's a pre-rolling reflex. Okay. That's the ATNR, the asymmetrical tonic neck reflex.
Okay.
And the words don't matter right now.
No, I love it.
Unless you're, if your child is having some reflex difficulty, we would explain all of that.
Okay.
But the point is, like, they serve a purpose in development.
Yes.
And once developmental milestones are met, that connection is made in the brain where we don't need that reflex any longer.
Okay.
So that means it should go away, or we say integrated.
Right.
Like the connection's set, we don't need it.
Yes, it's kind
that
of mastered.
milestone was met.
Yes.
So they are building blocks for development. But what happens, sometimes kids, they might not integrate for different reasons. Some reasons might be traumatic event or illness, like infancy or childhood, can affect reflexes. Sometimes reflexes can be integrated, and then something happens and then they appear. Okay. It's like they come back, we regress and they come back.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes. Or maybe kids skipped a milestone.
Okay.
Like maybe somebody didn't crawl.
Yeah,
I knew you were going to say that. That's the one we see on like report, like developmental profiles, like, they didn't crawl. They just went straight to walking. And there's a lot of good things that happen in development during crawling.
Yes.
But also reflexes are, connected in some of those stages. So we test for about 5 to 6 reflexes when we do evaluations. We want to make sure we're not seeing something that could be causing difficulties with motor, attention, core strength, even like impulse control, like balance and startle responses.
Yes.
And so reflexes can affect those things. And that's why it does kind of, for the impulse control, it kind of flows into sensory for me as far as how I'm thinking how to treat and how to help.
Yeah.
When we see reflexes present, for me, I feel like, okay, we know we have a plan. We know what to do. So I try to encourage parents like, this is present. And they might feel like, oh gosh, what happened? What did we do? I want to encourage parents and say, no, like we know what to do. We have a plan because children's brains are growing and changing and making new connections every day.
Yeah.
And with reflex integration, that treatment or modality, we're using purposeful movement with the body to make that connection in the brain.
Okay.
So that it is integrated and no longer influences them any longer.
Okay.
And the research shows us you could do a reflex exercise for 30 days and that connection could be made in the brain. But
amazing.
I tell parents, I'm not going to tell you to do something every day because I couldn't.
I know.
So I say we see good progress if parents are consistent with home exercises that we recommend. We see progress within about 3 months.
Okay.
I mean, just being realistic.
So if I'm listening to this and I'm like, they don't even live in Tulsa, they can't get to you, could you provide some exercises for them to work with their kiddos, or would you have to evaluate them to know what reflex to work on?
I would feel better evaluating and putting my hands on and checking some things, but there's really good resources.
Okay, what are those resources?
Integrated Learning Strategies is the website. It's like ILS, but Integrated Learning Strategies website has a great just library of articles and information on reflexes.
Okay.
And so that's a great resource. But there's also therapists, OTs and PTs on Instagram that have great, input as well. One of them is Erin Wiggins. Okay. And her Instagram is Your Everyday OT.
Okay.
So that's a good one to follow.
Okay.
There's a physical therapist, Canactive Kids.
Yes.
Do you know that one?
Yes.
Did I say it right?
Yes, I think you did.
Yes. Yeah. That one's another one that I follow and has good information. So there's great information out there.
Okay.
I would just not want to recommend without seeing a child in person.
Yeah. No,
but there's even exercises out there.
Because even some of those books have little at-home screenings that you can kind of do too. We're all a big fan of OT, so if you get to the right OT, I think that's probably the way you should go if you really are having some concerns.
Right.
But I think the resources there are a great way to kind of dive into it to learn a little bit more.
For sure.
What else do you want to share about reflexes?
Just hope and encouragement.
Okay.
Because if we're, seeing them and they've been screened or we know that's the cause, like we know what to do and we can help.
Yes.
And the follow through at home is key. It makes all the difference in the world to follow through.
I mean, we have seen children come in almost getting kicked out of school. And we are like, this is what it is. We've gotten them to the right OT, gotten them some help, and we've seen huge improvements in behavior and the pause button. I mean, all of that impulsiveness and balance and being able to sit and focus longer. And I mean, it just, if it gets treated, it really, really, really can help.
Right. And a lot of parents ask, well, what does that mean for my child in the classroom? Like if that reflex is present, what does that mean?
Yeah, that's
and
good.
Some of the things that can be affected, that one I was talking about, the ATNR, if you think of a student who's in first grade and that's present, they are moving their head from, say, looking at the teacher to looking at their paper or looking at a smart board and looking at their paper. And that head movement can subtly affect arm movement or body movement, or they might lose their place on their paper by the time they come back down and look at it. So like visually, or motor, it can be affected by that head movement.
Okay.
So that's just like one little example of
that's good.
How the reflexes can affect a child in the school setting. And even the Moro reflex is one that we see so much of.
I'm surprised you didn't talk about that one.
That one we see, I think, so many kiddos are struggling with that one. That's our fight or flight response. And so kids that have that Moro present, they could be impulsive or have difficulty with emotional regulation or with transitions, like stopping an activity to go shift to another one or moving from class to art or PE, going to a special, changing back to the classroom. Like those transitions are difficult for them. And even kiddos like having difficulty transitioning from the car to get out to go to school.
Yes.
I've had a few kids struggling with that recently.
Yes.
And it can be some kind of attachment, but also it could be that fight or flight response, like, I don't want to do this.
Right.
I can't go to school. And so we need to check for that reflex, work on exercises to integrate that in the brain, but also provide some good sensory input to help them regulate I'm thinking of the kiddo having difficulty getting out of the car so that they can transition.
Love it.
So the sensory piece, like to jump, we're working on reflexes at home, but then we could give them a transition object. And I've told a couple of parents recently, pick one thing that its only job is to get them from the car into the classroom or back, and it goes in the backpack and it doesn't come back out. It could be a little stuffed animal or a Hot Wheel, something small, but its special job is to help your child get from the car and out and into the classroom.
Yeah, it's good.
So you can kind of, we're putting a little bit together with, sensory and reflexes, and strategies.
Well, and that's what's hard is sometimes they do just kind of go together.
Yes.
And so I think knowing the difference and how they kind of go together is just so important.
Yes.
So, okay. So building all children always kind of wraps up with the scripture. So I know that you are going to do that. Before we get to that part, do you have anything else you want to add about sensory therapy, reflexes, any encouragement to parents?
Sure. I just think if they have any concerns, to reach out to a resource. If they are in our area in Tulsa, you all are a great resource. But even if they're not, you can help them connect with a resource. And then the books. I mean, you and I both love The Out of Sync Child.
We do.
That's a book that we both recommend to parents often because it explains things so well for sensory processing.
Yeah.
And like how, our brains are all different.
Yeah.
And we're all sensory beings.
Right.
And, some adults might still twirl their hair or chew on a pen or shake their foot.
Yeah.
And we're regulating. But some kids, they cannot do that.
Right.
And we want to help them and support them. So I just want to encourage parents, like reach out because there's great resources out there.
Yeah.
So if your child is struggling, just reach out.
I love it. Can a child outgrow sensory processing?
I think they learn strategies. Like I said, we're all sensory creatures and beings, but I think their behaviors absolutely will change as they grow, but they're learning how to regulate and, what they might need. Like I might need a tight shirt today to feel good in my body. So I think we matures.
Figure it out.
Yes. And it's more socially appropriate.
Yeah.
So that you can chew gum, to get an input that you're needing. Or, you can rock in a rocking chair when you need to. So I think we just learn what's more appropriate so I can still get that need.
Kind of what our body needs as we age a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I tell parents all the time, because we do a sensory profile, not to diagnose sensory processing, but just to see if they're off, to go refer to get for an evaluation. And I tell them all the time, sometimes I could test them 2 weeks later and it would look different. Our senses are changing all the time.
Right.
And it depends on the world we're living in. And I always say you would not score perfect either, and neither would I. Like we all have a little bit of it.
Yes.
And then the world we live in can kind of affect that too. So
absolutely.
Anyways, that's important to know that it's not a pass or fail, I guess is what I'm saying.
No.
It changes, which can make it kind of difficult because they can do really good for a while, but then get really dysregulated and not do good.
Right. Right.
So it's kind of a little bit of a roller coaster.
It can be, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, scripture. Back to the scripture. Do you have a scripture you want to share with us?
I think when you asked me this, I was really thoughtful on what I think about every day to apply to work. Mm-hmm. And there's several truths from the Bible that I think of every day. Just that I can say this in some settings that I'm in, which I love, but just that we're working with God's kids and they're all created in his image.
Love it.
And so when we're serving them, and I pray for discernment, I pray for God to show me what he sees, because we know that he knows every hair on their head. Mm-hmm. He knows what's going on in their brain and body. Yes. And so I'm encouraged by that, just that he already knows the answers, and I'm this vessel that's just doing the work for him. Yeah. Not only for his children, young children, but his grown-up children, like the parents and the teachers, like we're just used by him to take care of his kids. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just encouraged by that, not just one verse, but I mean, so many. I know. For, just when we're anxious and when we're down, and, just knowing that he's in control and he's got us. And at some of our schools where I'm allowed to, I love being able to say, God made your brain and body so amazing that you can do things with your body that make connections in your brain. Yes. And I love telling kids that and parents that, to encourage them, like, this is how amazing you are.
Mm-hmm. I love it. No, and I think if I'm a parent listening to this, it's so encouraging that there's just hope. We've got this big, big God that cares so much about their children, and through him, he's going to guide the right people, and he's just their provider. So kind of take a deep breath. It doesn't, we don't have to be the fixers. We're not the fixers, but we are the connectors. So we have to connect them to the right resources, and then let the Lord fix.
Yes.
I love it.
I do too.
Heather, thank you. We could probably talk a whole couple hours on this topic, but I think it's great information to get out there. We will have you back.
Okay.
Because I love you to pieces, and I want you back, and I love your knowledge, and I think more families need to hear the wisdom that you have.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.